that goes, right?
Yes, I do.
Understand
Yes,
that.
yes, man. But anyway, how's it been going? How's everybody?
Every
Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Walk Down Memory Lane. This show is dedicated to the one and only Mike Sharp. I'm your host, Earl Based, and joining me is co-host Dennis Brown, and we have a host of track and field athletes, which include Nikki Saunders, Brian Wellman, Mike Watson, and Donna Rayner. Well, Dennis, tonight should be one of the nights that we really, really enjoy as we talk about someone who has done so many things in the sport of track and field, in our community as well as a broadcaster for sport as well. But we want to really emphasize tonight is about Mike Sharp in sports. And I know you would have known Mike as a person that done track and field at a young age. We're going to talk to Brian Wellman, who actually has told us on many occasions that he saw Mike compete at the Carifta Games, and that's what gave him his drive. We'll find out from someone like Nikki Saunders, who would have been around when Mike was competing, and then of course Mike Watson would have been in the mix as well as Donna Rayner. So, Dennis, what are you hoping to hear tonight about the one and only Mike Sharp?
Yeah, well, it was really a shock to me when I heard last week that he passed. But to me, Mike, when I was doing track at that time, Mr. Long put actually put me under Mike's wing as well as Glenn Lake because this guy's a long jump. And as the years went by, every time Mike used to see me, uh, he used to give me some choice words a little bit about how I bleep up and not doing track and field. But at the end of the day, Mike was a beautiful soul, a very humble person, very passionate about sports. And he always used to tell me, you don't know what you could have done in the years, whatever. But at the end of the day, I knew I made the right decision. But Mike, to me, I'm just looking for these guys to really tell us what Mike meant to them, as well as some of the questions that we're going to put forth to him in relation to his competitiveness. I knew he went to St. George's Sec with the other Mike, so we're gonna
Yeah.
be asking them a lot of questions in relation to the relationship with Mike going forward. So we're looking for a good show. It's not an obituary. This is a celebration of Mike. So first on you, Earl.
Well, one thing is for sure, everything good comes out of the East End, Dennis.
Watch that. I'm a porn dog. Watch it.
Just thought I'll throw that in. I just thought I'll throw that in.
Last time I checked, they didn't have the trophy, right, Dennis?
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Brian.
All right. Oh, just checking. Just checking.
Oh yeah, I'm a Somerset boy too now. Don't do that.
Excuse me. This
Don't
is
do
not a
that.
cup next show. This is not a cup next show.
You're part-time householders. That's what you are. You're part-time householders. You're holding your footy holders.
Okay.
But actually, you know what? Donna, I want to start with you because you would have been one of the ones that would have come through the ranks as well as Mike. With Mike, your first impressions of Mike Sharp when you would have joined the group of athletes at that time. We often hear of everyone doing what they used to do. But your first impression of someone like Mike when you would have got involved at that level at the National Sports Center under Clive Long?
Well, I think Mike and I started the same time. I'm not going to tell all my deep secrets.
This is
But
the time to do
no,
it.
it's not. No, it's not. Not that secret. But I admired. I'm gonna say I admired Mike very much as an athlete.
You're blushing. You're blushing.
Hush. He was he was very passionate about the sport. Mike was committed. To watch Mike train, it was unbelievable. I mean, he trained like he was competing every single day, and probably him and Glenn probably were competing when they trained, but he was a tough, very very tough competitor. Mike and I hit it off from the very beginning. I mean, he was kind of like a big brother to me. And even when I got into administration, Mike always looked out for me. He always contacted me, Donna, anything that you need, just let me know. Sometimes he would find out things and call me first. So we've always had that type of relationship. And Mike always knew I admired him. He always knew that. But we just had that, I guess, I guess I'll call it brother sister type of relationship. And we'll leave it at that.
Well, one person who has just joined us is the Director of Sports, Mr. Norbert Simons. Norbert, good evening. Your time beginning with someone like Mike, I know you guys had a brotherhood of a group of guys that would have trained together, worked together to be one of the or the only Carifta team to beat Jamaica. What was your initial communication contact with someone like Mike?
Well, good evening, and my apologies. Just got caught up doing a few things.
We just got started. I was late. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Well, as you stated, I got involved in track and field in September 1971. Actually, was through Carlson Phillips, Gladwin Conyers, and Stanley Douglas encouraged me to come up to the stadium and start training. Mike came shortly after, I believe. And like I said, it was a group of us. And it was 30 plus athletes. So for me to pin down exactly when Mike got involved, I can't. But I can tell you that in 1974, Carifta in Jamaica, Michael ran the first leg, I ran the second leg, Glenn Lake ran the third leg, and Cal Deal brought it home. We were the first 4x1 relay team to beat Jamaica. And in beating Jamaica, we set the Carifta record as well. So I recall that race because those of you that know when you set up a relay rig, you have the acceleration so and then you mark out your 10 step, your whatever steps you have to indicate when you should move off, right? Now Mike flew out of the block, so I went back and adjusted my mark by about another stride because I saw the way Mike took off, right? And we were in lane 8. And so, but back up a little bit. In training session, Long used to ride me all the time, talking about, man, you gotta move a little faster and stuff. And I said, Long, don't worry about it, man. One day we will deliver, right? And so, and guys in the room know that Long and I always bantered, right? So on this day, when we did that, and I took off, and all I could hear Long say, when we did our exchange, all I heard Long say, holy smoke, man. And so I flew down the backstretch, handed over to Glen Lake, and the rest was history. After that race was over, I recall Jamaica's coach came up to me, but stood beside me and said, Simons, that was sneaky of you. I didn't even know you knew my name, right? He said, Simons, that was sneaky of you. If I'd known you was going to run like that, I'd have put Charles Adlam on you, his best sprinter. I said, you could have put Don Corey that day, he'd have got ass. But
that's one.
Yeah, and so what happened was that Mike was explosive. Mike was explosive, and I think that his triple jump was what made him explosive. And to watch Mike do bonding for 200 meters, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Bonding for 200 meters,
200
right?
meters.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sure them athletes to do 50 meters in the dying.
Well,
Polly.
That's right. Bond. What happened?
You
But
keep
yeah,
it
finish.
freezing a little bit.
I said he was a beast. So yeah, Mike, when he came on to that, Mike was a master of his craft and he took it seriously.
Yeah.
You know?
Polly.
Yeah.
And a few people around here, everybody around here knows when I say Polly.
Huh?
Yeah.
Mike ran the 4x4 that same Carifta.
Mike
Polly,
Sharp ran the 4x4?
give me your update on, give me your first encounter with Mike Sharp.
No, who, me?
No, you
I
didn't
didn't know. I didn't know Mike ran the 4x4. I was ready for Norbert to
Me
finish.
neither. Me too.
I said, no, I want to hear this.
Me too. I don't remember that.
Look at
Hey,
Polly
hey,
now.
but guess what? Mike Sharp, when I knew him, when I entered
You got
high
2 minutes,
school,
Mike. You got 2
he was
minutes.
running the 800. He was running the 800, right? So
Right.
I guess if you put 2 and 2 together, why couldn't he run a 400? You know what I mean? Yeah, because he was explosive and he obviously had some endurance, you know. But you know, one of the things I fondly recall, man, that I always admired, and I think part of Mike's problem was his career was so short. And I mean, when you look at the fact that he tied the Carifta 100 record on grass and ran 10-4 in 1975, that's something that a lot of us forgot about, you know. And on top of that, he broke the triple jump record, which held for a number of years. And I'm not sure if he broke the long jump, but I know he won 4 gold medals and he was the most extended athlete that particular Carifta. So I always said, really on paper, people really didn't know the magnitude of Mike Sharp's success because he did things when he was so young. And after that, of course, we all knew him as a newscaster. So that was the actual quality of Mike Sharp, let alone what he accomplished with the group of guys in the Olympics. That's how good he was as a junior. You know, yeah, but of course I knew him coming along because he was from the eastern parishes. I knew him coming along. He was a year or two ahead of me, but I knew him and was pretty cool with him as a youngster. And I told those guys before, I remember coming over to St. George's Secondary, and of course as a distance runner, he was running some 800. And then for some reason, I never paid him much mind after that. And when I went to the National Stadium, was recruited by Long to train at the National Stadium, I got there and he was a sprinter. And I said, well, this is amazing. It's deadly in the 100. But he was always fast. But because he ran the 800, I didn't realize he would get that serious in later years by becoming a pure sprinter and jumper, you know. So Norbert, like you, I don't recall exactly when he started with Long, but it had to be when he was in his second or third year in high school. You know, he was recruited at that time. But yeah, Chop was fantastic, man. He was, you know, always a good friend of mine because we came up through the primary school, high school situation. But I honestly believe the person that became the most close with him as years went by out of all of us was Glenn Lake.
And they still were right up until his passing.
Yep.
Yes, man. Yes, because I remember us at Jackson State going over regularly to compete in Florida Relay, and we used to link up with Mike. I'm not sure, Donna, if you remember, but I know we guys used to sneak off and go party.
No,
And
I
we
didn't
used
go.
to go. Yeah,
I can go with you.
Okay.
She's here waiting for you.
Man, it's a long time ago, you guys. And you don't want Norbert here too much anyway, right? But I remember, man, Glenn Lake and Mike said, yeah, come to this party, right? We go over to this big dance, man, out here in the middle of nowhere, this big hall, set right up, man, and the music was coming through sharp, man, and I heard the MC on there, and then I realized, hey, that's Mike Sharp, man, what's going on? He was actually the guy that was the DJ at the major parties throughout Florida at that time. So he was big in Florida for that, and it wasn't no surprise to me when I came home. I saw him involved in with the news and in commentary. I believe he was a mass communication major anyway.
Of course.
Yeah, so
So
yeah,
let's
but
jump
that's
in.
my recollection of Mike amongst other things, But I'll give somebody else a turn.
Brian and
for you.
Nikki. Brian and Nikki.
Brother Nick.
Right, I'll go because I'm a little older than you. The lasting impression I have of Mike Sharp is the beauty of his run, his style, his grace, his power. I was a lot younger. Dennis, we were together. We were the same age.
Yeah.
But when you saw him run that 100,
unreal.
Oh my, says Joe Brown. Knees high, looking beautiful. And I used to just admire this guy. Who is this guy? So I eventually got to know the seniors, which is Donna, Mike.
Okay, Nikki. Okay.
But I got to know them
Hey,
basically when I started to compete a little bit more. But Mike was always, I always admired him. There are only two guys in Bermuda who I thought had the best running styles, and they were both named Mike. Now, anybody know who the other Mike would be?
Oh no, don't do that. Don't swell his head. Don't swell his
You
head,
won
Nikki.
Donnie
Swanee.
Don't swell his head.
Mike Swan.
Mike Swan.
Mike Swan. He was like a little
graceful run. And so I always related the two together because they had such a beautiful style on the track. But when I got older and became a little bit more successful, Mike would interview me. And the knowledge he had, he would tell me things about who I was competing against, the history of it. So he was well informed. But his voice, I just loved his voice. I'm a guy. I loved Mike's voice. He had this distinctive characteristic of his voice. As soon as he said anything, you looked. Paid attention. So I was sorry to hear, like you, that he had passed away because I always felt he had so much to give. But I didn't know him as well as the others, but I did know him fairly well and admired, as I said, admired him from the day I saw him coming down the runway on the triple jump, long jump, and that 100-meter run because he just looked beautiful.
Hey, Nikki, not to cut you off, right?
Yeah.
But you're reminding me of something I said recently. I said,
that?
when we were growing up, we remember the sound of the Merbelet.
Yeah.
We remembered the sound of the Triumph.
Yeah.
And we remembered the sound of the MGB. But we also
remember
remembered that beautiful voice Mike had. I always likened him to that. I said, everybody wants to talk like Mike Sharp.
Oh, see, I'm not alone. I thought I was.
Right. Oh, yeah, the guy had an amazing voice. A beautiful speaking voice.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. So when it was on the news, you could hear the character coming out of it,
Exactly.
And the passion. That was what he had. But he was always very fair. Anytime he interviewed me, he'd say, listen, Nick, I'm going to ask you this question, that question. This might be a little bit controversial, but just handle it. You can do it. He never blindsided me, if anything. No. Always smiling and ready to give his all in an interview so that the people of Bermuda can get a glimpse into how we as the Bermudian athletes are performing, how we're feeling. And it was fantastic. So again, I'm saddened by his passing, but I'm happy that I, like most, have had the opportunity to sit with him, to talk with him. And it was a little bit more than just competing, because when you're competing, you really don't have the time. But when you can sit and talk and discuss what's going on, then you get more of an insight into the person. And that's what I found I got in the years that I knew him when he would interview me. Because I would say something and I could see the light bulb going off in his own head as to, I did something like that. And then he would say something after the interview. He wouldn't interject it. He'd say, listen, Nick, you said that like Mike just did. He would say, I remember the time, blah, 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 well, with his beautiful voice, of course. I mean, I'm serious. I used to just look at him and go, this guy's voice is so nice. Like, you couldn't say anything at that time, they would have had other ideas. Beautiful voice.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm a lot younger than most of the people in
Okay,
this panel.
okay, okay, Brian.
Hey, watch
We
out.
still travel with you, Brian. We still
I
travel
gotta
with
speak
you.
up myself.
He didn't hook you up. He didn't hook you up with no bunty chocolates like
Yeah,
me here, huh, Brian?
Oh, so hey, Wi-Fi is popping in and out here, so if
you're all right.
I
We
miss a
hear you.
couple, that's what's happening.
Yeah, go
Um,
ahead, keep going.
but no, my like I said, my first experience as Mike Sharp was, Crifter Games in Bermuda. You all remember the old National Stadium. The runway was in front of the building on the bank. I was a kid at the time, sitting up on the bank watching the triple jump. I was there basic. My mom dropped me off. I didn't even know where my mom went. And she might have been still there, but I was whenever she came back, I was in the same spot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so, and that was it. I mean, I'm watching. It was incredible for me because I'm watching a, a Bermudian win an event that I'm sitting there going, wow, like Nikki was saying, you were just so in awe. You watch your talent, you watch the ability, and you watch how dynamic and how, as jumpers, when a guy's got what we call guys got hops, he had hops. He had the ability every time he touched the ground to get back off the ground. You're like, this guy's got built-in springs somewhere. And I just loved it. It's like, man, I want to learn how to do that. And he was, like I said, he was the inspiration for me to get into triple jump. Been in the track and field all this time, but that was my focus. And man, I want to learn how to do that. And so, that was my drive. It was incredible. One of the things that I guess I wanted to get done after this year, Janai had won SECs, and somebody pointed this out to me. I didn't even realize it at the time. So Mike Sharp had won SEC triple jump at Florida, SEC's triple jump. I won SECs at Arkansas, and that was our first year because we went from Southwest Conference to the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah,
And then Janai won SEC triple jump at Tennessee. Three different
that's right.
schools, all in the SEC, all the same
Open
event,
meetings.
but all Bermudian. That
Gold
was
medium triple
That's
jump.
I
Yep.
fantastic.
so yeah, I wanted to get the picture of all three of us, man. But obviously, and like I was right after Janai won at SECs, I was like, man, I hadn't because I usually see him around, and I hadn't seen Mike, so I don't know if he had left and went to Florida at that point. But yeah, every time he used to see me, he's like, oh, that guy there broke all my records. But but the thing is though,
Yep.
that's the goal, right? He inspired me to do exactly that. I mean, so as a junior, I had the last opportunity because I broke his junior record at Central Florida. Actually, that's kind of crazy too, huh? And at Pan Am Juniors, it's the year I actually broke his junior record. And
Yeah.
so, but yeah, he inspired me. Like I said, I saw him competing, and like you said, as a type of person where you go, man, you can see that this guy just left it all out there. He didn't cheat himself in terms of his effort. And so I just took that and says, you know what? I'm gonna find out how good I can be. I'm gonna try to move this mark up the pool as far as I can to inspire the next generation to do the same. So that was kind of hard on me too when I found out that he had passed, and like I said, just a little something that I wanted to, like him, Janai, myself, get together, get a couple photos, and then chop it up a little bit like we all do when we get together. Because I think this is my your initial family you don't choose; they are who they are. But my track family, people you like to hang about, and commonality, many of spades games and plane trips and everything else, right? Where we all chop it up, have fun, and so a lot of fond memories. I didn't have to. I wasn't as fortunate enough to have a lot of great memories. Like you said, most of my interaction with Mike after that was basically him interviewing me about whatever had just happened. So, but yeah, I was a little kid at the time watching all you guys, and Mike. You guys all inspired me because when I came along, track and field was big. I mean, that was huge. That whole group that was up there, you guys are up there, and everybody doing the thing was. I'm like, wow, this is what it should be like. But I kind of got that energy, which is sad. There's a lot of young athletes in Bermuda that don't have that. So I left here. I went to junior college. I didn't have it, and then when I went to Arkansas, I got it again, where we had a big group of like-minded people working hard for the same kind of guys performing at a high level. And to see that at home and Bermudians and stuff, like I said, that's how he inspired me. It was the fact that I sat there and watched you guys won Carifta. He won the triple jump. I was like, wow, okay, I know what I want to do.
Well, Brian, I'm going to say this. I'm kind of glad that you didn't get with Mike, because if you'd have got with Mike, with you and Janai, Mike would want to challenge you in triple jump, and we already saw what happened when Mike tried to do triple jump.
I tried to give him my shoes. He did it. He jumped into some docksiders. As the crazy thing is, though, I went to the hospital after he had the surgery. I used to go visit him. I'm like, what are you doing?
I'll never forget that day. Mike comes down the runway, hop, skip, and boom. Broken ankle and hip and
knee. I think it was his knee.
His knee came out.
His knee, yeah.
Much like Debbie Jones Hunter, Ronnie 200.
Debbie collapsed. She pulled something out. Down she went. She just started like 2 strides, and down she went. Mike was in the pit. The ambulance came up. I was like, oh my God.
We can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
You know what, guys? I want to say, because I never have. Thank you, Mike, Donna, Norbert, Mike, all of you guys. Because like Brian said, I used to watch you guys. Just quietly on the side, watch you train, watch you interact with each other. And at that time, we were 30 strong, you said. I remember a Vaughn Harvey. I can bring names out that I'm like, well, I've never seen Vaughn Harvey since. But there was such a connection of you there. And characters, Norbert being the biggest one. I'm going to say that. But he added something to, all of you added something for us to look at, and it was fun. You're laughing, you're joking, but when you all got on the track, we saw what I saw, and I'm going to only speak for myself. I saw what you were doing. I saw that the work you had done with Long, the arguments, the fights, the fun, the laughter, the pain. I saw how and why you went through it. And again, that helped me as well. It helped to inspire me to do it as well. Mike, you're incessant trying to make this Olympic team, the way you went at it, the way you trained. Honestly, I just thought this is the determination that I need to have. Because if I'm going to make it, I have to go further than I think I'm able to. And the beginnings of that came from watching my seniors, who are now my contemporaries, Donna, right? Watching you guys train.
Again, prehistoric.
Having a relationship with myself and Brian after your time had passed. You were passing on your knowledge. And that I would never forget. Brendan, all of you, there was such a group at that time, and Mike being a big part of that as well. But you were all such a fantastic group of individuals. And
but remember,
you had no choice, because Clive Long was slapping the whip. He was cracking the whip. But
remember, Clarence, we were Carifta champions.
Yes, you were.
That team you was looking at was the best that the region had to offer. So
that's what I'm saying.
We had to.
The way you went about it was just fantastic.
Yeah, but you know something, Nikki? The thing about it that brought it all together is Long had us training hard. We trained hard, but believe me, we partied hard, because we used to have our own parties. We used to have our own parties at National Sports Club, and definitely remember Mike Sharp and Glenn Lake. That was the crew. But we used to go to Long's house during the summers. So he made sure that we stayed together. We went White's Island. I know you all remember that. We went over to White's Island. I mean, and the thing is, and that's why I think we were such a family. We kind of did everything together, so we trained hard, but he made sure that we have fun as well. And that's sometimes, and that's sometimes what I say to these, like, you can't just train. You've got to have some fun things to try to keep everybody together, make them feel like a family, so everybody supports everybody.
And everybody followed Miss Lake's cooking.
Yeah.
We back in there, even the food and there was too.
And Norbert's mama too. And
Yeah,
Norbert's
Norbert
mama.
Simons,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right.
He had
Yeah,
all this. There's cookies and cakes and
yeah.
all that. But and that's the other thing. Our parents were the rest of our parents were there too. I mean, my mom was
Yeah.
there. Every day she was one of the officials, and Debbie's mama was there. Carla's mama.
Administrators as well, yeah.
Yeah, we were all just together, just a united family, a good unit.
Yeah. Dennis, we've sat here for 30 minutes, over 30 minutes, and all we can say is wall right now.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
hey, I can tell you this, you guys. If you look at Mike's stats, then for the short time he was involved in track and field was pretty amazing. When you consider that guy was the most outstanding male athlete in the 1975 Carifta Games, right? He went on to college, became an SEC conference champion. And we all know the SEC is one of the toughest conferences, in sprints as well as jumps. Then when you consider he was a world record holder in the 50 meters, him and Dennis Trent both ran 5.9. That's right. In the 50 meters. That's right. That's right. He was a world record holder at one time. Him and Dennis Trent.
Wow.
And when you consider that, and let alone going to the Olympics and missing out on the finals, these guys were juniors. They were juniors at the Olympics. So, I mean, simply amazing. When you look at the career Mike Schaub had in the short span of time he ran. I remember him one time, Norbert, you may remember Steve Williams. The guy who was one of the few guys that ran sub 10 back then, ran 9.9. And I remember him in Florida relays, man, and Mike Schaub came out the block, and Steve Williams had how to catch him. and I said, well, I think Mike's gonna steal the show today, but lucky for Steve, he got him the last few yards. But that guy was so fast coming out the block.
Yep.
It was amazing, right? So,
he is a bullet.
Yeah. So I mean, when you were directly involved with Mike, it was simply amazing some of the things he did. I remember watching him, Dennis, squatting, having a squatting competition there. Brian, you should have been in that, man. Them guys were squatting some serious meat, man. Them guys had thighs like a dang elephant legs, man. Them guys were strong as heck.
Back up, Mike. Back up.
Well,
you are talking about Brian P. Wellman.
Hey, Brian would have had his work cut out for him, Mickey.
No. That man is the strongest man I've ever. Him right there. Strongest man I know. I've never seen anybody move weights like him.
Dennis Trott's still doing it.
Those guys were that good.
Yeah, Dennis works out with me now. And Devon.
Hey,
that's right.
I've seen Dennis Trott jump over a Volkswagen.
Exactly.
Right? You talking about that guy Harvey Glass did it? I saw Dennis Trott did it with my own eyes. And I'm pretty sure Mike Schaub would have did the same thing, man. Those guys are powerful, man. And that's from a standing jump. Yeah.
Whoa.
Guys are amazing, man.
Now look, let's take a commercial break to give you guys a chance to gather your thoughts. Dennis, when we come back, you're on.
All right.
John Barrett & Son, Bermuda's foremost distributor of fine beverages, is bringing on the joyful festivities this winter with Barrett Stone Ginger Beer. We've extolled the virtues of this traditional Bermudian drink before. It's refreshing and spicy and wonderful in the kitchen. Google cooking with ginger beer and you'll be amazed by the diversity and wow factor of the recipes. As our good friend Bruce Barrett says, bubbly, tasty, full of spice, refreshing and exciting. When it hits your taste buds, mate, full flavor is igniting. Lynn knows. Why go anyplace else?
My inspiration to write this book has to do with empowering. I want people to understand what it looks like when you are in a position when you don't have the tools around you. If you know me or don't know me, the game, the beautiful game of football, soccer, is and always was a way out. Still fearful on what to do, what would happen if I say something.
What can we do in this book to incorporate tools to help specifically our group of young people in Bermuda.
Could you imagine doing a read with little people and breaking everything down for them and having them to have a voice and having conversation pieces, if it's chapter by chapter?
And welcome back. Dennis?
Yeah, one of the things I learned from Mike when I was training with him and Glenn Lake, one of the things he said, and I kept it when I played football. One of the things he said is, when you're here relaxing, laying off, doing nothing, your opponent's out there putting the work in.
out.
And that stayed with me for my whole life. Even today, I use that as a coach to the players that I coach. And so the question I'm gonna ask, because a lot of my work ethic came from when I through track and field, because I learned right away that it's only you. You can't blame anybody else, outside of the relay. So the track and field, long jump, 100, whatever. So my work ethic came through that. So the question I'm gonna ask everybody, or especially the older guys, about what type of I really know what Mike was about as far as being a competitor. To you guys, what type of competitor was Mike like? Because just heard Norbert say that this guy did bounds for 200 meters. Like that's absolutely ridiculous. Like, so what type of competitor in you guys' mind was Mike Sharp?
Well, actually, before, just so people understand, as athletes, we all know what bonding is. But Norbert, can you describe just that to get people to understand, if you're gonna do that for 200 meters, what that really is, and then you can answer Dennis's question, please.
Don't show us, Simon. Just tell us. You pull them up.
You gotta go work tomorrow.
No. I think the closest you can get to an explanation is it's like a lunge,
It's an exaggerated
but
run.
then you're bouncing within that lunge. So you're not just lunging and putting your feet down. You're bouncing into a lunge, and you're going continuously, lunge after lunge, bouncing after. But 200 meters is crazy.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Actually, it's actually like exaggerated sprinting, except your stride in between. You're going, and I'm guessing as far as Mike was going, you're probably going. So I went 80 yards and 20. So you're looking at 4 yards. So like 12 or 13 feet of bound, especially when you're doing a volume of that far. And if it's going 200 yards or 200 meters, it's probably doing somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 bonds. No, so that's two. So about 100 and some bonds, 125, 130 bonds in terms of in one effort.
Whoa.
Okay. Listen, for people who don't know, that young man is Island Stats. This man can tell you things that happened 30 years ago and tell you the exact time, date, place,
every minute,
wearing,
anytime
for breakfast.
Exactly.
That's right.
So Nicky, what you're saying, I need to bring him on board?
Yeah. He knows it all, honestly. You ask him about what's happening in America in that NCAA competition, he'll tell you. And you're like, he'll even tell you what you did in the competition.
Earl, you're lucky you opened up Island Stats before him.
Earl, the thing about it is that he can tell you this 3 o'clock in the morning when you're trying to go to sleep.
Oh, well, yeah.
And you say, I'm tired, and Brian keeps talking.
I've had moments with Brian, and he'll say to me, "Oh, how long is this interview?" I tell him an hour, and an hour and a half into it, he said, "Well, we're just warming up."
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, that's Brian. Brian is definitely a student of the sport, mate.
That was my traveling partner.
But let's go back. So, Simons, can you refer to Dennis's question?
What was the question?
What type of
Bounding.
well, I like how you guys interact. So we're not really interrupting you guys too much, but
Yeah.
how much of a competitor to you was Mike Sharp? Like,
But you see, the thing is, I caught Mike. Mike was starting as I was going out.
okay.
And I say that because in 1973, I was a little disillusioned with the sport and promises that were made that were never kept. And so I came back for Crift in 1974, right? And Mike, and like I said, Mike was like, we were all competitive. I think that, you know, there was this thing. The sprinters and jumpers had a different type of mentality from the middle distance runners, right? So we were edgy. So you know, when I say edgy, we felt that we could take on anybody. Especially in the sprints, you know, like when you brought in people like Donald Corey and Houston McTiernan to run the Bermuda, we actually thought we could beat them.
Right.
And so Mike was a guy that when it came to his triple jump, he was serious. And I think we were a different type of serious. I think that I think someone alluded to. I was the joker in the group. I was the one who tried to make light of situations. I was the great defender for our athletes in a lot of ways. You know, so if anything went wrong, you can guarantee.
There's a pain in the neck.
I'm the one that took up the charge. So, but like I said, Mike was a quiet type of guy, but he was quietly confident in my recollection of him, right? But the best person that can describe Michael is Glenn Lake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those two were like those two, for whatever reason, from early in the
they got in trouble together.
Yeah, that's right. They were brawn underpants.
Exactly. Yeah, was one without the other.
You couldn't see one without the other. Those two were tight, and I'm not going to call any names when it comes down to finding love on the two-way street and losing it on the lonely highway.
This guy's a lunatic.
That's why people tell you when you get Alzheimer's, they're coming to kill you.
Yeah,
they're coming to take
you. So some things will leave alone. You know?
I guess the best way you can describe Mike's competitiveness, I think Donna explained it earlier. I think the best way to describe my competitiveness, Donna had explained it earlier. I mean, you got a man after he's retired, his mind is still telling him he could do something his buddy can't do. That's a classic example of how determined Mike was, right?
What I saw from Mike was a showman.
Yeah.
Oh, most triple jumpers are showmen anyway, and long jumpers. Dennis, Brian, Mike Sharp wants to get the entire audience involved with their jump, and that was Mike. Mike was a showman, and when he went down that runway, he wanted everybody to be looking at Mike Sharp when he was jumping, same as Brian does, same as Dennis Strutt does. That's just seems to be in their genes. But Mike always wanted to put on a show, but he put in the work where he could put on a show. You know, you have some people that want to put on a show and they ain't that sharp. Mike was sharp. As his name was Sharp, he was sharp. He put in the work. I mean, I've watched Mike train before. As I said, I really admired Mike, so on and so forth. But Mike put in the hard work. So when he got on that runway, he could put on a show because he knew he had put in the work. Mike, like Norbert said, Mike was kind of. I don't think he was quiet, but Norbert said he's quiet. He wasn't quiet. but
he wasn't quiet to the lady.
Exactly. But there you go. There you go. But I mean, when he did his session, Mike would joke around before the session, but when the session came, he was totally focused on what he was at the stadium to do. And I mean, as you know, us girls. Yeah, but us girls, we're sometimes a little giggly, you know, whatever. And just like, you guys need to be serious, you know, and we'll get serious eventually. But, you know, we're giggly girls. But no,
the bloomers.
Yeah, okay. Why am I the only woman? Excuse me, Earl. Why am I the only woman on this? Like, really?
Debbie has a
Secrets are coming out. You started talking about getting from Sands to the National Sports Center
That's what I'm
in
talking
15
about.
minutes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Without transportation.
That's right. That's right.
That girl thought they were taxi back there, but you put
No taxi, bro.
you gotta leave them livers alone.
We were sharp. I still don't understand how come I'm the only female here.
No, Jack, I just want to apologize. Debbie was supposed to come on, but she called me today and I heard her voice. Her voice is real terrible, so she couldn't come. She sent her apologies.
Oh, yeah. That's too bad, because I was going to tease her about how she got the Austin Seeley Award instead of Mike.
She's watching.
They both got 4 gold medals. They gave it to the woman. So it must have been the bloomer. It must have been the bloomer.
We won for a reason. We won for a reason.
It's classic.
Hey, man, the bloomers went around the corner. Nobody was worried about anybody running straight down the runway to do a triple.
That was at the start of a race. Everybody was like, God, can't wait for them to go down in them blocks.
Unreal.
Yeah, but it was good times. But it was good times.
Well,
I'm gonna miss that Mike by his teeth. It was good times.
Nikki, Dennis said he wanted the older ones. I say more mature, but of the two, you and Brian, of the younger two, you go ahead and talk about a little bit about what Dennis asked.
Nikki?
We're losing his connection.
Yeah.
Can you hear us, Nick?
Again, I saw him compete. I didn't, and I was a lot younger. Well, not a lot younger, but I was younger. And I was just involved in the program.
Saying that a lot younger.
Hey, but they had similarities because they both try to play football for Devonshire Colts.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we hear you.
Are you there?
We hear you, Nick.
We're good. Can you hear us?
It's that Devonshire Colts connection. It's the Devonshire Colts connection. Everybody just take your time.
Hey, watch that. Dennis will tell you, I didn't try to play.
No,
I was a player.
He was a good player.
Oh, yeah. You was a player,
He
sure.
was an excellent player, not good.
Sure.
I was a player.
Sure.
Okay. I didn't try to play for Devonshire Colts. I was a player.
Sure. But if you ask anybody today, Nikki, where they know you from, it's from your high jump. It's not from where that
compete
what is
when
it,
I was young,
back in Orange?
and I couldn't tell you much more about his drive because you have that more. Well, yeah, but what I saw, it was when you ask me about how they competed, I have to say the entire group, because what I saw from the entire group. Hey. Those are youngsters. The youngsters. They're not the ones. Nobody knows I play. I played Premiership 1 year. Premiership. The First Division 1 year, then I went to university. Because Long said, no more. You're going that way. But again, to answer your question about Mike, I saw more collective in the group than individual. I saw him compete. But again, I didn't learn that well because I was playing football more so than training for athletics. But when you saw the whole group together, Mike included, you saw the determination that they all had. Yes, they all joked around because it was a lot of fun watching them. But when they competed, you saw how diligent and how focused they were. And that's all I could say. I was impressed by that, and that's what helped me get. Now you guys are all smiling, so I'm wondering what is it? what's the smile
No,
for?
man. No, man. You're hitting it on the head, man. We were a serious group. Yeah.
Hello.
We were a serious group.
Okay, I can
I
start
would say,
singing a
okay,
song.
I would say to you that
Can I sing?
not yet, not yet.
No.
No, yeah, I don't want to go to
hears
sleep,
me?
Nick.
Yeah, we hear you.
Hello.
We hear
Hey,
you.
Earl,
Yes.
Donna.
I would say, contrary to, I mean,
Mike. Hello.
I think Nick is having
Hello?
technical problems.
I think
Yeah,
so
yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Hello?
Just as
Something's
long as he
going
don't
on
start
over there
singing
in
now.
England.
Okay, you guys are pulling my leg.
okay.
Can't hear you, Nick.
Coronavirus is going through the fan.
Hello.
Exactly.
Something's not right.
Can't hear you.
Okay,
We can hear you.
Earl, I would say to you that our era of athletes, without sound like I'm being braggadocious, right? But we had a lot of world class athletes.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think that Cal
That whole Carifta team.
Yeah, I'm talking about when you think that I ran 10.5 on grass, Cal Deal ran 10.3 on grass, 20.8 on grass.
That's crazy power.
When you look at Nikki Saunders at 16, 17 years old was jumping 6'8" on grass. Look at what Mike Watson did. Look at what Dennis Trott did. Donald Watson,
on grass.
Debbie Jones. We had a lot of world-class athletes, and I think that we were born at a wrong time. I think that had we been born at this time, we'd have been sensational.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sensational.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
so
Been battling with the U.S. in the medal count in track and field.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
so just think about all of that. I mean, and to think that we had to walk from one end of the island to the other to raise money to travel.
Exactly.
Really.
Nova, remember
And
that?
So you know, so when you sit down and think about it, you know, and we haven't even talked about the Candy Fords, the Susan Dorms, the Andrea Trotts. We had a plethora of world
Sonia Smith.
Sonia Smith, whose record still stands today in Carifta, right? So, you know, we had a plethora of world-class athletes, right? And I think when Brian Bellman won his gold medal, when Nikki Saunders set the Commonwealth record that still stands today.
Am I back?
Huh?
Yeah, you never left.
You're back.
That still stands today. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, these are the type of celebrations. And we talk about Mike Sharp, right? And I know that, you know, we should be giving people the flowers while they're alive. But Mike Sharp was an outstanding.
Lord, now it was Norbert.
Outstanding. That generation of athletes have ever been given their fair due.
Brian?
Yep. Same thing like Nick. I mean, I was inspired by all these people on this panel and about another 27 or 30 that not her. But like you said, I came to this stadium and it was, man, just something that you wanted to be a part of because you sat there and like you said, it was a great mix of people when it's time to get serious, they got serious.
Oh, I have the games.
People who were trying to get serious got serious. And when they put in the work, they put in the work. But they also, you could see that, you know, because you basically worked hard together, they also played hard together. So it was a great synergy between working out, training hard, and having fun afterwards. And, you know, you had all the variety of personalities from a Norbert to somebody who was, you know, not so
line, Norbert,
boisterous in the corner.
You've given me mine.
Nikki keeps coming in and out.
Yeah.
And so
it will catch up. It will catch up. Go ahead, Brian.
And so, you know, it's like you said, I guess we're here celebrating the inspiration that Mike and what he had, you know, in terms of in all of us. But I think the other thing is, though, there's a lot of us that are still around, like like Norbert said, to give people the flowers where they can smell them, as opposed to putting them on top of the grave. And so, a lot of us in this chat and in that group, in my opinion, are not given enough credit, not given enough recognition for all the things that they did do. And because, like I said, a lot of these times you talk to these kids nowadays, they're in an event and they don't know the person who's got the record and in a little country like Bermuda, and they all got smartphones, everybody's got data, and nobody's doing any research. And that was one of the things, the reason I got into learning my sport. First time I met Donald Corey, I didn't know who he was. I was embarrassed. But here's a man and all the things that he'd done, and I didn't know what he had done. So, I came off as ignorant and not knowing. And I told myself I'll never let that happen again. And that's basically why I got into the sport and learning all that I could. Because, when people achieve things, everybody wants to be appreciated for all the hard work. Because we all know this is hard work. A lot of people don't get here simply because it's not comfortable. It's not nice. It's a lot of pain and suffering going on. Like all of y'all have donated to the back of the school board up there in the hill now, and everybody knows where that spot is. That grass over there was really green. And so we've all donated fertilizer to that spot. But people don't understand what that's all about. And so when somebody has achieved to that level, and you get a chance to meet these people, you should, appreciate their accomplishments and thank them for what they've done. And so to me, like Nikki was saying, all the stuff I learned and knew, there's a bunch of other reasons behind it too, but, just to basically appreciate people's accomplishments, and when you get to meet them, to let them know, like, hey, that was an awesome run, an awesome performance. I appreciate that, So I think that's the big one to me, man. It's about, and especially in this day of COVID and people popping off left and right, leaving us shorter than maybe we thought they should. But you gotta appreciate people when they're here and the little time that we have on this planet, and appreciate all the great things that they have done. And like, hey, I love that race, and because people that just helps build everybody up. We always live in this world of negativity. Always will tell you the 10 things you did wrong, but can't say one or two nice things about the things you did right. So to me, it was inspirational. Like I said, I only got to see Mike compete once at Crifter, but was enough to inspire me to, I guess basically, what? It wasn't just him, it was you guys as a group. And I think I took that even subconsciously, I saw what great performances, the work that was necessary for great performances to happen. And I took that same mantra for myself and try to learn as much as I can and try to become the best version of myself. So that at the end of the day, when I'm sitting here now that I can't do this no more, I don't look back and say, no, what is? But, try to pass on the information to the next generation for them to do better than me. But yeah, so like I said, my interaction with one sport in Crifter I seen Mike. I don't recall him training. I was around, so I don't know. By the time I got around, I think he was getting out of the sport, and then obviously I remember him as a sports commentator for Big. But yeah, the drive and the competitiveness, I think it was a group thing. I think y'all fed off each other. Nobody wanted to lose. I know how it is when I went to Arkansas to jump. It's the same thing. I remember Coach Booth used to have to take away the rake and turn off the lights to get us to stop competing. So, but I could see the same thing with with Lake and you, Dennis, and Dennis Trott and Mike. There's no way we're at practice and we're doing whatever the drill is, and you jump further than me. That ain't happening. I'm coming back, and I'm and that would go all night if let it.
But I think the other thing, something that Brian says, when you talk about the passion that you saw in Mike, and even when we talk about the passion and the commitment and so on and so forth that we saw in Mike when he was an athlete, I think you saw that same passion and commitment as a news reporter. Mike was always excited to interview you. He always wanted to make sure that he got a good story and that he got a right story, not just a good story. because you have some of these reporters that interview you, and all they're looking for is the dirt. That was never Mike. Mike never came to interview you looking for the dirt. Mike came to you to interview you to get a story. And I can tell you, Mike always said to me, you know, Donna, I interview all these sports, but you know, and I know that my passion is track and field. He said, so anything that's happening in track and field, let me know. And he, to me, he had the same passion as a reporter that he had as an athlete. And that's why, like I said, when I saw Mike train, Mike was passionate about training. Mike was committed. I saw the same thing in Mike when he, as a reporter, he was passionate. You know, when he interviewed you, as Nick said earlier, you know, you could hear the passion in Mike's voice. You could see it even in his eyes when he interviewed you, you know, so he carried that passion. And that's what I always say to people as an athlete, a lot of that comes across with you in your career, in your adult life. You know, the passion that you have as an athlete, the commitment that you have, the dedication that you have. When you get into your adulthood, you still have that. For whatever you're involved in, I think that just ends up part of your personality.
You know what,
And
Brian?
that's one thing with Mike.
Yeah. Yeah.
To
He
Mike, to
understood.
Mike
He
Sharp, to Mike Watson.
yeah.
Question for you.
Yeah. Go
You
ahead.
guys did the Mike and Mike show.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that and your experiences during the Mike and Mike show for the Bermuda Day half marathon.
It's funny you should mention that. I was getting ready to hone in and say that Mike, as a commentator, also was good on the technical side with the radio world. And that's what I was always fascinated with as well. You know, nothing could go wrong when we were doing commentary that he couldn't fix, technically speaking, you know, and that blew my mind. I said, well, this guy's definitely got some experience here because he knows exactly what to do. Whereas, you know, I'm basically there hired to do the job of running my mouth. And Mike, Mike
Not
running his
you,
mouth
Michael.
That's
with
not
me.
hard.
And then,
That's not
You.
hard.
I had an easy roll.
Do what you do best.
And Mike's here running his mouth with me and working the equipment. And I'm saying, well, hell it, man, what's going on here, man? And you know, I mean, it took me about 2 years before I even understood the delay aspect, Earl. You know how when you're talking,
Yeah.
the radio has a a second, 2 second delay or whatever.
2 second delay.
Yeah, you have to let it go and talk. So you're talking. People don't even know you're doing that. You're talking, but you're actually releasing to give the radio waves time to catch up or whatever. And then you click it again. So you begin to master this stuff. And this is the type of things that Mike was showing me along with, you know, talking at the same time. So people look at the job and they think it's simple and easy, but they don't realize that they got to think of 2 or 3 things at a time. You know what I mean? So yeah,
Most
but he
people
was
only
definitely
see the end
brilliant.
result. It's just like anytime you're watching a sport on TV, you're watching the end result. The stuff in between to make it happen, when all the work goes behind the scenes, that's what they don't see. And that's what they don't appreciate, because if they knew what it took to actually make that happen, it's much like any world champion. We have a world champion of the Commonwealth Games. We have a world champion in triple jump. Most people don't know what these guys done and what you guys done to be the athletes you were back then. And, you know, the training aspect, the commitment aspect, the sacrifice aspect, they just saw you on the day competing. And they honestly believe it's almost like you use somebody who use a modern day person like Usain Bolt. They just thought Usain Bolt was the fastest guy in the world. Yeah. But what he done and what you guys done, including Mike, behind the scenes, every day committed to your craft. Is what it takes to remain right there.
Yeah, you know, you get younger people often asking you, said, you guys must not have been that much better than us. And I often remind them, I said, listen, when you look at what Mike Sharp ran for the 100 on grass as a junior, I said, and I look at guys today run the 800 on a excellent track, which has been newly repaired, and you haven't seen none of these guys in inter-school sports break 2 minutes. And I said, I heard I held the inter-school sports racket, which was 156 on grass. So that's an idea of if you compare today and then, how hard we guys worked and how disciplined we was as a unit. And but again, back to the commentary side of things, Mike. What I found interesting about Mike, all the years I knew Mike, I never really knew he knew a lot about distance running. So doing May 24th commentary with Mike was easy because he knew as much as me when it came to distance running, and he remembered the athletes probably even better than me. So working with him was easy. I did it with other commentators, but that's the part they're weak on. They don't really know the competitors like he did, because he really kept up and he is passionate about distance running for some reason. I find it interesting because I said, well, Sharp, your background sprinting, but he was passionate about distance running. So so that was a side I learned about Mike by working with him that I didn't know growing up with him.
But the interesting thing that I'm definitely gonna miss about Mike, because as you know, I always commentate the females race. Mike was always late. And he always used to say, he would always, and I'm not talking Mike Watson, because Mike Watson was always late too. Mike Sharp was later than Mike Watson.
We had a lot in common. What can I say?
But he was still always later than you. But the funny thing about it is that Mike would come there and he'd be just casual, sitting on the trucks, waiting to go, waiting for Mike. Mike would just come in casually on his bike, park his bike, and everybody was like, well, you gotta get this together. Mike said, I already got everything together. Everything was together last night. And he'd just jump on the truck and he'd be ready to go. We're all sitting up panicking. Oh my God, we're gonna be late. And Mike's gotta get this together. Mike says, no, everything's all together. All my stuff's together. You get on the truck, everything's on the truck. But that's why we always waited for Mike Sharp. Every year.
But Mike made sure he got us there early.
Exactly. Between him and Ian, they would call us, be there 30 minutes early, and Mike would come there just as the truck is getting ready to leave. And one year we left him. One year we left him and said, you got to find a way to get to St. George's because we're going.
But he knew his job.
You know what? One thing about Mike that I'm hearing is that he was a true champion of track and field.
Yes.
Not only did he perform, but he also pushed it. He publicized it. He let the Bermuda public know. Another gentleman that's taken up that race is Mr. Norbert Simons. I want to personally thank him myself.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Because without you, Norbert, I had a sour taste in my mouth. You have made me smile and feel better about being a Bermudian champion, because I felt the appreciation. Not that I didn't feel it from the individuals, but I didn't feel it from the government. A lot of times I was pushed back. And when you invited me home, I can't tell you and express how you made me feel. I tried to tell you, but I'm telling you here again in front of everyone else. You and Mike were champions and are champions of our sport, because you're no longer you are now because you're coaching, but you help to promote what was before and what is now, and also give us a vision for what can be by showing the individuals in Bermuda that look around. We have world-class athletes right here in this small island, and you can do the same. So I thank you, brother. I really thank you for that. And I thank Mike for the publicity that he gave us all, because he gave us a platform. You all established that platform when you were starting out. He continued that platform, but in another vein. And to that, you can only say thank you very much, Mike Sharp. Thank you very much, Norbert Simons.
Yeah.
And hold up. And to piggyback on that, I gotta give. I see him spinning there. I gotta give Norbert his flowers too, because I know he's always been in my corner fighting the fight in the background, trying to get people to understand the level in which the talent that we actually have in this country and the achievements that some of us had already achieved. And the sad part is, you know, even some of the things that happened that didn't turn out to be, you know, I called him on a situation about the stadium naming rights and stuff, and he explained to me the situation in the background, because I know Norbert's got my back. And so, you know, I greatly appreciate the fights that he's going through and all the hard work that is not unnoticed, not unappreciated. Totally appreciate it, my brother. And
Well, again,
like I
I'm
said,
gonna have to
I
interject because Mike and Donna, I'm not gonna let Norbert and Mike Sharp get it all, because both of you also have been instrumental. Mike, you've been the running icon for Bermuda for how many years? How many people have looked up to you, tried to be like you, wanted to be you? I mean, I would even suggest that our Olympic champion would have taken a look at how you ran, how you trained. Now, that's just my thoughts of it. Donna, you've been a stalwart in there for years. You've been putting your... Now that I coach, I see that giving up your time is not easy, because your family miss out, and the appreciation that they may not show right now, they will feel later on in life, because like Clive Long and Jerry Swan, I owe them everything. But at the time, you just don't think that way, you know? So I'm going to say to you all, not only did you inspire us, the next generation, to compete, and that's Mike Sharp included, but you also gave us hope. You also supported our efforts, and you also went that extra mile that you didn't really have to. And it was all for the love of the sport, which we all benefited from. So thank you all. And to you, Earl and Dennis, for bringing us all on. So you know what? So Bermuda can get an idea of who we are and what we're about. We were about excellence, and Bermuda can be about that. Every team that goes out of Bermuda has to know you're not just putting on a shirt, and it's not just a holiday. You have people behind you who sweated, who gave everything up, so you can have the next opportunity. That's what Donna, Mike, Norbert did for us. I hope we've done the same. That's what Dennis has done for those who are looking at him. That's what you've been doing, Earl. So let's hope Bermuda can just grab this. Because my frustration being out here, as I said to you the last times, I'm not involved. I can't be involved because geographically it's just impossible. But seeing that you guys are carrying the baton on and still going strong makes me feel proud. You know, it makes me feel proud. And then that's all sport, not just athletics, track and field, but it's football, it's cricket, you know, it's everything. And I know that you guys are instrumental and have been instrumental and continue to be instrumental in furthering that for the athletes. So thank you very much, guys.
And while we're on there, because I'm since we're all doing that, I'm not gonna let my time go without saying this either. Just as I talked about Mike Sharp supporting me 100%, Norbert has supported me as president from the time I became president. Whenever we were in a bind, we would talk to Norbert, and Norbert would get us out of that bind. Believe me, and I'm talking about in many ways, not just, you know, sitting down, let's have a conversation. So as I said, Mike always said to me, Donna, track and field is my passion, and anything that I could do for you, I want to make sure that we get you out there. Just like you said, Nick, Mike made sure that we stayed out there. But Norbert in the background always made sure. I mean, when we went to Carifta, if we were struggling and Norbert knew we were struggling, Norbert did whatever he could to make sure that we got the team there, to make sure that we had the finances to get that team there. And he would always say Norbert's words to me were always, leave it to me, Donna. I'll sort it out. He said that to me so many times. Just leave it to me and I'll sort it out. And he sorted it out. So publicly, again, I'm saying thank you to Norbert, and I'm saying thank you to Mike, because while I was president for those 12 years, I had the support of those two. And Earl, you know, you and I, you've always been wherever, whatever event we have. If nobody else covers it, you're there. And you know that. And we've said that several times. But again, you know, I just listened to Brian, you and Nick, and I just feel thankful that we have been able to impart some sort of, not knowledge, but at least a base, where you saw what you saw and it inspired you, so for us, everything that we done wasn't in vain, because as you said, it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work, like Brian said. We all know that little corner, but I'm just pleased to hear from you guys that we did inspire you. And fortunately, I got to travel with you two, even though you want to call us seniors or whatever. I guess you must have been on the precipice of being a senior, because
I was.
Brian Velman and I traveled quite a bit. And Nikki Saunders, we want to talk about our Canada trips with Mike Watson as our driver. We won't go down that.
Hey, lock the door. Hey, who everybody lock the door. I'm running.
You see, this is what our kids need to see. They need to see that the times we have they're so much fun. We're so together, but the hard work gets done. But the jokes, the fun, it's all the camaraderie. It's all there.
That's it.
And that's why when I look at Bermuda today, I'm sad, because that's not the Bermuda I know. We as Bermudians love each other. We take care of each other. We look out for each other. What's going on? I mean, this young man, Bascom, who's just passed away, how tragic. I mean, I know his family. I'm in London. I felt it. And you all in Bermuda must feel that too, because he's one of our he's one of our sportsmen. And we never had stuff. If you had a fight with a guy before he punched you in the eye, you see him tomorrow, you shake his hand. You say, all right, man, you cut me. And then you go on your business. Today,
not today.
I don't know what, but it's just, we need something. We need some help somewhere, But because we have the people, mentors there. You guys are all there. You're all there putting in the work day after day. But what's happening with our youth, I just don't know, because they seem hard to reach.
Seems like when I was in Georgia gets a superstar, all of a sudden something tragic happens, man. It's unfortunate,
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, and we need all the help we can get, Earl.
Dennis don't want to see. Dennis don't want to see him smile. But let me tell you something. We're gonna put 3 track athletes on our team next year. And we're gonna win.
Serious, are you serious?
Hey, track athletes are the sportsmen.
Are you
serious? Hey, you ain't the only one got track athletes. We got one up in Somerset too.
Here's the thing playing football.
Exactly.
Here's the thing playing football.
Hey, he can still pull out a batting pads and still hit a muddy fence.
Well, right now,
I'm blowing your team out.
Right now, he's in the boot. But I really know we dedicated this show to Mike Sharp, and I want to thank Dennis for inviting you guys on, because we have been sitting here for over an hour just reminiscing about you guys' time and reflecting on Mike as well as yourselves and other people. But I personally wanna say, Nikki, you have been an icon. What's that?
Earl, before you close out.
Sure.
It's been a pleasure for me to be doing this show. When we started, like January? January, February?
No, we started last November.
Last November?
Yeah, last November.
Whoa. So
within a year in.
So what I recognized in that year is that Bermuda has created so many world-class athletes in all sports, because remember, we started with football.
That's right.
And then we ventured to cricket, track and field, whatever. And everybody who's come on this show has been legendary. And it sweetened my head the other day when I heard the minister, because I think this minister is a doer. The sports minister is a doer in getting things done. He wants to get things done. I've been in a few meetings with him. He wants to get things done. Over the years, we've done our sports people a disservice, because a building like the size of City Hall should house a Bermuda Hall of Fame for the athletes, all sports, because there's no way that somebody growing up now, my daughter's age or whatever, doesn't know Mike Sharp or doesn't know Brian Wellman or Nicky or anybody or somebody in football or somebody in cricket. We've done our kids a disservice over the years by not having a Hall of Fame. And I think listening to the minister out there on the radio, what he wants to do in relation to getting a Hall of Fame up and running in Bermuda, because there's no way that our kids don't know the history of the people that came before them. So I think it's incumbent on this government, and this government calls themselves the people's government, that we get a Hall of Fame as soon as possible, because there's no way that that shouldn't be happening in Bermuda. The same way they created a African American museum in DC, we need to have a Hall of Fame, a sports Hall of Fame building in Bermuda that can also be a tourist attraction for people coming to the island. So I thank you guys, because I love the passion that you guys and the love that you guys have for, and you could see it, you could feel it, the passion and the love that you guys have for each other. And that's what like Nicky said, our youngsters are missing today. You know what I mean? The passion and you know what I mean? Like you said, don't tell Norbert too much stuff, because it will get out. You know what I mean? I've loved Norbert since I met Norbert. So Norbert came to Somerset. Norbert's been, you know what I mean, always been in my
Norbert
heart.
came to Sands. Come on, there's no such thing as Somerset. Norbert came to Sands.
I met Somerset.
Yeah, Brian.
Quick one. So,
yeah, Brian. Thank you, guys. Appreciate
I met
you guys.
Somerset out.
You went Sands, Mr. Simon.
I mean,
no such thing as Somerset.
Nicky Saunders is.
Sandy.
Is his national record. We got people to this day, national record still in the top 50 in the world.
And yours. Don't forget.
Oh, go with
World
Brian.
While he's doing
championship,
that guy is a monster.
You're back. His back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Brian.
So, I mean, Nicky's still, I want to say, the 32nd highest jump in the world to this day, all time. And so, my best indoor marks in the top 10 still. We have people from this little rock who have some of the best performances that have taken place 20 plus years ago, or knocking on 30 plus years ago, and are still high up on the world rankings from Bermuda.
Yeah. I still
Norbert Simons has the title of the greatest track and field coach record in history. 2 athletes, indoor worlds, 2 medals, a gold and a silver. Who else could say that? Shared up 100% record. We did better than Great Britain indoors at Worlds in '95 with 2 athletes.
Yeah.
And so knowledge like that, we need to know. People need to know that. And so when they don't realize, because we come from a small place, that don't mean anything. We can still beat anybody.
Yeah. I mean, I still hold the SWAC 1,500 meter record. That's got to be over 40 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think we all have records. I have them all on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But
legends,
we are Bermuda.
Legends.
That's
legends.
it. That's what I see it. You better come correct, because if you're gonna come against us, I don't care where you come. You could come from Jamaica or America. You're gonna have hell to beat me.
That's the baby
Dennis,
that was all
Dennis, let me end 2021, this edition of A Walk Down Memory Lane, just by saying you guys have made the year. As Dennis said, we've had many legends on this particular show, and we hope to continue it in 2022. And we would like to welcome you guys back. It's been so memorable. We've had several shows that have brought tears, brought laughs, brought all sorts of things to everybody. And this one here is one that would always touch home, because we all have a memory of someone like Mike Sharp.
Yes.
And for that, we will hold our memories of Mike to ourselves, especially those special moments. You guys have expressed a lot of memories of I guess public moments, but it's those special moments that you would have had, those conversations you would have had, or just watching him compete, just watching him train, and the conversation you would have had off air, on air, all those type of things. And I'm 100% sure that what Brian said, we need to give people their flowers and their roses whilst they're alive. And I know you guys have appreciated Mr. Simons and what he's been able to do in his position, even before he got that position. And I want to personally thank Mr. Simons because he has been a champion of Island Stats for a number of years. And we want to just make sure that Nikki as a champion of Commonwealth, Brian as a champion of indoor, Mike as a champion of Bermuda Day Half Marathon, Donna a champion of the sport of track and field, and Mr. Simons a champion of sports. Dennis,
yeah, man,
I want to say
legends.
Yes, this has been one of the most special shows that we've had.
Yeah, definitely
for this year, and many more to come, hopefully. But we want to end tonight just with a moment of silence for the one and only Mike Sharp. Good night.
Good night.